Hey, what's going on, good people? Armand Owens here with you once again with another episode of the Unsung Leader Daily Leadership Nugget. And today's topic is covering one of the biggest hindrances to your leadership effectiveness, and that is undying the desire to be right. How does this actually play out in real life? Well, let me tell you about how I royally screwed something up. I just show up to my first submarine as a chief and take over, a division that, everybody was telling me was struggling a little bit. Had an LPO that everybody said was questionable. And I kind of took everybody's, advice, and I felt as though I needed to be the end all be all to everything to get this thing turned around, right? So I had to go and be super chief, right? There, first of all, there is no super chief. So anyway, but so turns out some of the gear that the boat had was new, and I hadn't had any maintenance experience on some of this gear. So I had to spend a little bit of time, after work, kind of going through things and making sure I had an understanding, because, like I said, it was end all be all me. Well, when it came time to do some maintenance on one of that a piece of that gear, I was giving direction to the young seaman about, hey, how we set this up, how you do this. And my first class came to me and said, hey chief, I think what you're doing, what you're talking about, is on the older model, the model that was superseded. I think we got to set it up different, for this model. And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Um, no, I'm doing it right. This is what it is, and this is what we're going to go do. And I went back and it was such a disdainful tone that I took. Didn't even allow any feedback to come, to come in, or even, take a couple of seconds to even consider whether or not, he was correct. I was more offended that he would try to check me, as the chief. He would try to come at me and try to embarrass me. These are things that's going on, in my head. Not to mention that I did not have a lot of the experience on that piece of gear. And lo and behold, we go and conduct that maintenance, and we absolutely did it wrong. Absolutely did it wrong. Gave him the setup for an older model. Put oil in the wrong place and end up seizing up that piece of gear, and getting called out by the CO. Yep. So our desire, my desire to be right, in that scenario, put the mission in jeopardy. And it's one of those things that is not only prevalent in work and in leadership, but at home, in marriages, in relationships, and friends, and in teams. And you look at marriages, one of the biggest irreconcilable differences root is that both of the parties want to be right. When you look at why your favorite band has broken up, it was because somebody wants to be right. I got told something very early on, in my marriage, from a great mentor of mine. He told me and said, hey, you just want to keep something in mind for you as you go and progress in your marriage. Do you want to be right, or you want to be reconciled? And that thing stuck with me for a while, because I have a tendency to want to be right all the time, to allow that ego to spit that mess in my ear. You're right, but you're right, but you're right, but you're right. Our need to be right cripples us. It keeps us from learning, keeps us from listening. It turns off the feedback mechanism. And one of the things that we have to remember is that our view of the world, our view of reality, is a mere sliver of reality. It is a supremely myopic view, and it is audacious to believe that we have the full picture. that desire to be right will keep you from learning. It will stunt your maturity. It will stunt your growth. You ever wonder why you meet people that may have the look, the body, and the age of somebody that is 40 years old, but have the mind of somebody that's 17 years old? It's because they haven't grown past that. They haven't matured, past that level of needing always to be right, always clinging, to the need, to be correct. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes the thoughts that you hold, near and dear to your heart are wrong. And the beginning of growth, the beginning of learning, the beginning of leadership is acknowledging your own inconsistencies, acknowledging your own limitations, acknowledging your own bad mess that you keep up here that's painting a picture of a reality that is not full, is not true. I know that, just like I talked about a previous issue that I had, that each of us out there have times where the need to be right has put us in some daunting situations. But just remember that your need to be right is not going to increase the mission, is not going to enhance your performance, is not going to build your team, and is not going to make you an effective leader. You gotta kill the ego. You gotta kill that need to be right. Because if you don't, at some point there's going to be some young sailor, there's going to be some teammate giving you some advice, giving you some feedback that can very well save the mission, that can very well save the direction of where you're going. And because you're clinging so hard to that need to be right, you don't listen and you derail everything. Don't let that derail your leadership. Don't let the need to be right derail your growth as a leader. Don't let the need to be right derail your life. It's more of a life message than a leadership message, but for me, everything is leadership. So make sure you're checking yourself on the need to be right, because it'll put you in a place where it could be unrecoverable. All right. Hope that that resonated with you guys. Share it, like it, comment. Let me know. But reflect back on those times where that need to be right, it flared up. Because I know this resonates with some of you out there. Because it resonates with me, and I have to check it every single day of my life. I have to check myself to make sure that I am remaining open, remaining receptive, and honoring everybody that I come in contact with. Hope you gained something from it. I'll be back tomorrow. Peace.